Who are the ad watchers? We are attorneys at the National Advertising Division of BBB National Programs, a team with over 50 years of experience investigating and resolving disputes over the accuracy of national advertising campaigns.
We don't just take ads at face value, we put them to the test. Why? Because advertising law can be simple, but it's the execution that's hard.
Welcome to Season 6 of Ad Watchers, NAD's podcast that gives a view into how our organization reviews claims and applies advertising law. If you missed any of our previous episodes, don't forget to check them out later. They're available wherever you're listening to this.
So, Eric, I don't know about you, but these skyrocketing prices for pretty much everything are not only top of mind for me, whether it's at the gas pump or at the supermarket or buying an airline ticket, but I think that they are top of mind for all consumers. There's a lot of anxiety right now with families who are really struggling to pay their bills and wondering, how they're going to be able to save for the future.
Yeah, Annie, and advertisers have certainly noticed that anxiety and are building advertising around how they can help people pay their bills and plan for the future. So what are we talking about today?
Continuing on this season's theme of looking at specific product areas, today we're going to talk about financial products. Through monitoring cases and competitor challenges, we have seen recurring issues, but also new industries taking part in the advertising self-regulatory system to resolve core disputes.
So before we start talking about some of the recent cases, we've had a couple older cases. Now financial services and financial products, they're not necessarily new to NAD, but I think lately we've seen the diverse array of kinds of financial services become to be reflected more in the cases we are seeing at NAD. Some are marketed to consumers directly, some are to businesses, some are regulated in different ways. But we are getting now a better cross-section of that. To give you an example of some of the older cases, though, we've looked at monitoring, and case from a couple of years ago involving J.G. Wentworth and their claims to get access to cash that you may have from a structured settlement or an annuity. We took a look at that, and also for the Cash App, claims about being able to make money quickly through investments in Bitcoin. That was also subject of a monitoring case that we had. But recently, in the last year, we've had 4 cases involving a new to NAD financial service, and that is 401k services. These were our first cases involving that. And more specifically, 401k services for aimed toward medium and smaller businesses. So this was advertising for people at those employers, and the advertisers are providing a service to get their employees access to a 401k plan. And we actually had 4 cases, all brought by the same challenger, actually, human interest. The first 2 I'll talk about were SWIFT cases, and they had to do with claims about the annual recurring revenue that competitor providers were stating in their advertising that they had. Now, that's an important metric because if you're the point person, let's say at a company that's looking to sign up with a 401k plan for your employees, you want to know that the provider you're using has a certain amount of revenue. And these cases came down to disclosures. So NAD said that as it concerned annual recurring revenue, or ARR, a succinct disclosure generally describing the method used to calculate ARR allows those potential customers to assess the claimed revenues for comparative purposes. For example, potential customers should be made aware of whether the ARR figure aligns with industry standard practices or include non-recurring revenue streams or other potentially unexpected assumptions. Now, this is a very specific kind of claim, but I think you can take that principle and apply it to many things in financial services. Disclosure is absolutely essential in many cases. And then, one thing to note about one of the cases that we had, it involved a provider called Vestwell. And the claim about ARR appeared in a press release. The press release was put on the company's website. And there was a little bit of a dispute over whether or not that could be considered advertising. And it was, because it was used to promote the advertisers' services. So it met our definition of advertising. Had two more cases also in that space. Also had another Swift case, and this was another one, another challenge brought by human interest against their competitor Guideline, and these involved number one or most popular claims. The advertiser was making claims that they were the number one or most popular on a certain platform, a certain HR and payroll platform where you could use your link with your 401k services. So we got that challenge, and NAD here said again this was a case for better disclosure, because one of the parties was number one in terms of overall signups on this platform. They had the most number of customers, and the other party was the one that was getting the most recent signups. That was sort of number one on the charts at the moment. So NAD here said that it would be the best thing to do would be to disclose where it is you're number one in. Is it overall signups, or is it in based on a recent time frame? Get recent time frame, getting the most signups there. That in some context, you will need to distinguish where that number one is coming from. Is it number one all time or a number one of recent note? And here we said it was relevant, and that you should disclose and distinguish what your number one, which time period you're talking about. And then lastly, we did get a standard case involving these 401k services. And this was kinds of claims that you may see across different industries that we get at NAD, comparative claims, claims about quality and customer satisfaction, time-saving claims, and how quickly you could set up these services for your employees, and how much time did the person at the company have to spend working on this when they have a million other things to do. But anyway, there were some comparative claims about fees and having lower fees. These were broadly stated savings claims, and some of them were comparative against competitors, some were against the industry average, but the broad messaging didn't work because of differences in pricing models and individual results that could be achieved. Very, very tricky to do that kind of comparison in a service like this, where there are many variables. So NAD recommended that those claims be discontinued. NAD did find that the advertiser had supported through their own internal documentation time-saving claims, that you could only needed to spend certain time out of the month working on this, and also that their customer satisfaction claims, something you see in all kinds of industries, those were supported as well.
Mounting prices and services means that many consumers are facing crushing debt and want to find ways to save. All of the cases were monitoring cases. So these were cases that NAD opened on its own initiative. And the first two cases concern debt settlement company advertising. Debt settlement companies claim that they can help heavily indebted consumers get out of debt fairly quickly. This is a particularly vulnerable audience. So he had heightened concerns, namely whether the ads clearly explain how consumers can get out of debt and whether there were any material limitations that were clearly and conspicuously disclosed. So, in both of the cases, the companies offer a free consultation to consumers to see if they qualify for the program. And if they do, consumers join the program by depositing money into a separate escrow like account, which is administered by a third party, and then payments to creditors are made through that account as the debt settlement company tries to negotiate settlements for the unsecured debts. And they're always unsecured debts. So, for example, credit cards, not secured debts like mortgages. And that has to be approved, and each payment is approved by the client. Fees for debt settlement company services are upwards of 25%, and they're only paid upon settlement of a debt. And in terms of how long these programs vary, it certainly varies, but they can take a couple of years. In national debt relief, we challenge claims such as get out of debt faster than you think, get back to financial stability, and living your life within 24 to 48 months. These were qualified by lengthy and inconspicuous disclosures about when this could be achieved. So, for example, clients who were able to stay within the program and get all their debt settled realize approximate savings of 46% before fees, or 25% including our fees over 24 to 48 months. There was also a claim based on a former client that the savings were thousands upon thousands of dollars. We found that the advertising reasonably communicated that all of the debt would be eliminated within 24 to 48 months. The advertising did not make clear that it was only unsecured debt um, that was covered by the program. Also, based on the evidence, which was essentially raw data and the summary of the enrollees from 2013 to 2024 who had graduated from the program and the average time to graduation, it showed that a majority, but not all of the enrollees graduated during that time frame. So we recommended that the advertising be modified to clarify that only unsecured debts are covered, that faster is compared to minimum unsecured debt payments, and that a majority of the national debt relief graduates resolve their debt in 24 to 48 months, and that those disclosures appear clearly and conspicuously. In accredited debt relief, we challenge claims such as debt relief can cut your monthly payments in half, reduce your total debt by 50%, be debt free in as little as 12 months. So again, we've got these quantified claims. They're quite impactful. We found that the claims were not supported because they did not represent the typical consumer experience. So, for example, less than one third of consumers uh, reduced their total debt by 50% or more, and less than 30% of customers were debt free in 12 months or less. For the claim concerning the reduction of monthly payments, the calculations are based on those who completed the program as well as those who did not. The up to reference didn't save the advertiser either. So we cited to the FTC's Windows case and noted that there was a substantial debt reduction that was promised based on large debts, and so consumers will reasonably expect to achieve the claimed result, and they cannot verify whether they can achieve debt reduction before enrolling. And as in the National Debt Relief case, there were detailed and lengthy disclosures about the program and material limitations, but they didn't appear in close proximity to the claims. They appeared at the bottom of the web page. And so we recommended that the claims be discontinued, but that the advertiser could advertise the monthly payment reductions and the percentage reduction of debt achieved using calculations that reflect the typical experience of consumers. We also recommended that any material limitations be clearly and conspicuously disclosed in close proximity to the claims. So the bottom line is, advertising for debt settlement services have to disclose the risks involved as well as to avoid overpromising results by truthfully explaining the results that consumers can reasonably expect to achieve. Now, shifting gears to Monarch Money, this is an app that is subscription based and it is available on mobile and desktop devices, and it helps individuals and families manage their finances. It does so by connecting to a user's accounts and it allows them to categorize transactions, customize budgets, set goals, and track recurring subscriptions. It also allows multiple users to access that data and work together on financial goals. So they were making some pretty strong claims, but they revised quite a few of them during the inquiry. So we reviewed the modified claims. Those modified claims were, on average, members save $200 per month using Monarch. 80% of members say Monarch gives them a clearer picture of their money. 7 in 10 couples say Monarch improved their money conversations with their partner, and 8 in 10 feel more in control of their finances with Monarch. The advertiser relied on the results of a random survey of Monarch Money users conducted in July of 2025. So these were first time survey participants who had an account for at least 30 days. There were over 13,900 users who received an email invitation to take the survey, and there was no compensation offered. But it was closed after the first 360 participants had completed it. So we had a number of issues with the survey, including the lack of a don't know response option, which can inflate positive responses. As to the $200 per month savings claim, this was based on a question that asked, as a result of joining Monarch, they had reduced unnecessary spending or saved more than they had been saving. But that's ambiguous because it conflates two different actions and results in unreliable data. As to the clearer picture of your money claim, here the question did not match the claim because it asked whether, as a result of joining Monarch, they had learned where your money is going better than you understood before. And so that's much narrower than the broad claim. There's also a claim that 7 in 10 couples say that Monarch improved their money conversations with their partner, and 8 in 10 feel more in control of their finances with Monarch. So, um, uh, with respect to the improved money conversations with couples, this was not supported because the data only concerned single users, not couples. And as for the 8 and 10 feeling more in control of their finances, there was insufficient support based on the lack of a don't know option. So all of the challenge claims had to be discontinued.
So we'll wrap up with a challenge involving kind of financial product pretty much everybody's familiar with and have been advertised to the masses forever: credit cards. Nothing new about credit cards, but we have some claims here that were challenged by Capital One challenged claims made by JP Morgan Chase for its Chase Sapphire Reserve and Chase Sapphire Reserve for Business cards. Um, and we got to look at whether or not some of these claims were puffery or not. There were the claims that this was the most rewarding card and the most rewarding business card. We found that the most rewarding claims, absent additional context tying them to specific product features or attributes were puffery. We said that most rewarding does not convey the message that a consumer will earn the most reward points with that card. But in many contexts, that claim is juxtaposed with and connected to specific product attributes and benefits. There, NAD determined that the claim most rewarding conveyed a superiority message, that the Chase Sapphire Reserve cards total available suite of benefits and spending-based reward earning opportunities provide the most value to customers. So those claims had to be substantiated when they appeared in that context. So we took a look at Chase's methodology for how did they total individual credits and privileges and combine them with projected points or rewards, and looked at that methodology and whether or not it gave a reasonable basis for the most rewarding claims. And they would include this. The benefits included things like priority pass lounge access, streaming subscription credits, and credits for certain dining experiences. So that was put into the methodology and given a value. And NAD said that there was, totaling this up, most rewarded was a claim that was supported, though we said they should disclose the basis for those claims, given the number of assumptions that went into this analysis, disclose that, and but the claim could be made, and also to continue to monitor it, because you're talking about values that may change over time. There was also a claim there that the card with over $2,500 in annual value, there is no competition. That was partially supported. NAD said that they could make the $2,500 annual value claim, but there's no competition, was not supported. I guess as evidenced by the fact that there was a challenge here, there was competition. And then lastly, another claim here was introducing the business card that gives back all you put in. That NAD said that was not a claim. A reasonable interpretation of that claim was not that you get back all of the value of your spending. That would be very nice. But that was not a reasonable takeaway, NAD said there.
In conclusion, claims about big savings and debt reduction, especially during financially trying times like these, are particularly impactful. So make sure that your data is reliable, that your claims are tailored to the data, and that you disclose any material limitations clearly and conspicuously.
Know your audience. Who is your target audience? What and how you communicate about the product benefits matters. Also, don't assume that just because it's about financial services that it's not going to be advertising. If it's promotional and trying to drive people towards your products in any way, it might be advertising. Thank you again for tuning into this episode of the Ad Watchers. We hope you enjoyed it.
Thanks again for tuning into Ad Watchers. Be sure to check out our previous episodes at accountabilitystudio.org, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe to get notified about our next episode.